Voices from Home starts right now. You're listening to Pastor Mike and Brad Carter, and our program is called Voices from Home, a voice for the voiceless. We every Tuesday at 6 p.m. here on 1380 The Cat, we discuss homelessness, people experiencing homelessness, people at risk for homelessness, and the trials and tribulations of people that are experiencing homelessness. I'm told we have someone calling in, so let's take our first call. Hello, you're on the air. Hello, you're on the air.
They're not there.
Okay, they're not there. Well, we'll just keep on going here. All right, Brad Carter is my co-host and a very powerful president of the Home of Daytona Beach, an advocacy organization that just celebrated their 5th year of helping and telling the story and working tirelessly for the homeless population. You want to tell a little bit about your organization, Brad?
Well, my organization is Home of Daytona Beach. It stands for Homeless and Others in Exchange. We got together about 5 years ago in the library to just communicate between the general public and the homeless population that's going to change public perception of the homeless. We think that's a big key. If you're going to help the homeless, you have to change public perception of the homeless. Would you agree?
I would definitely agree, because the homeless population is not universally loved. The optics are really bad when you drive down one of the main thoroughfares, or you see a homeless person with a cardboard sign asking for spare change. That's mostly the image that people have in their minds of people that are experiencing homelessness, and it's actually a very small part of the population. There are people living in cars, there are people that are couch surfing at friends' house. There are a number of locations that there's actually a website called Invisible People, where the large majority of the homeless population is invisible.
If the numbers are accurate, and there really are 1,100 homeless people living in Volusia County, then I would say there's a lot of invisible homeless.
Oh, true. I'll grant it. But see, where the public, what we're trying to do as an advocacy program. Now, I have my own ministry, New Promises Ministry. I don't, promote the God's side of it, because I have to do advocacy with politicians and so on. So I try to keep that distinct. But my greatest job in the whole world is preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ to people that are lost. So, having said that, we feel that we need to help the least of these, as in Matthew 25:40, that the least of these, if you do onto the least of these, you are doing it onto me. I don't think there's anyone out there that if Jesus came knocking on the door, that wouldn't have him come in and give him a meal and give him a warm, safe place to sleep. So that's what we look at.
I think we ought to give Michelle a mic. I think Michelle ought to come over here and hop on a mic.
Oh, Michelle Rivero is a tireless advocate for the homeless as well. Actually, she got involved a couple of months ago with us, and she's been going out to some of the places that the homeless frequent, City Island, Manatee Island, and other places, and actually talking to them. And I got acquainted with Michelle, and she's jumped in and decided to help us with being our videographer, and she's doing a fabulous job. We hope to get all of our archives up to snuff. She's been actually pestering me to get all of the stuff together so we can get the archives done. So Michelle, you want to say a few things?
Just say hi.
Just say hi to everybody.
Hello.
This is Michelle Rivero.
It was a slow week in homelessness, so we need all the help we can get. Doug, we need your help too today. So.
Yeah. Well. Oh, she missed it?
No, she has his microphone.
Oh, okay.
We only have enough. So.
All right, here we are in studio. You're listening to Voices from Home. This is a call-in program. You can reach us at 523-1380. That's 523-1380. If you ask a question, we'll try to answer it. If you want to make a comment about the homelessness situation, specifically in Volusia County, or more specifically in Daytona Beach, that's where we're focused, because we have on every given night we have 300 or more people that are looking for a warm, safe, secure, legal place to sleep, and that's where a lot of our focus has been lately. My website is DaytonaHomeless.com, DaytonaHomeless.com, and you can follow my ministry on that website. And if you just type in Daytona Homeless into Facebook, you'll find us.
Or you can type in homeofdaytonabeach.org.
Homeofdaytonabeach.org, or Voices from Home on Facebook.
Or Voices from Home on Facebook, or Home of Daytona Beach on Facebook. Mike's a member of all of my organizations, but he's a very reclusive guy, so he doesn't allow me to join his organization.
Well, there's no organization to join. I'm a loose cannon, as people say. But anyway, too radical for the Bernier show, but I digress.
So did anything interesting happen this week, Mike?
Oh, I think so. Since we were last on the air, our listeners, had if they paid attention, they had the spectacle of us having 30 or more people at the city commission meeting on July the 1st. On July the 1st, we had over 30 people waving signs that said, "Shelter can't wait." They said, "Housing not handcuffs, beds not bars." We're going to have a new sign in the rotation that's going to say hashtag homeless lives matter, to piggyback on they say law enforcement lives matter, and black lives matter. I think all lives matter, but we have a population that has really gotten short shrift in all of these movements to give people the rights that they deserve under the Constitution. It's really funny, when you talk about giving this group rights or giving that group rights. All of the rights are given from God, and actually the government derives their just powers by the consent of the governed. So actually, I think the politicians have gotten away from that. They think once they get elected, they have a power to run roughshod over the people that elected them, and that's something that we stand up as much as we can. And we're seeing a lot more activism, don't you think, Brad, in the county with the beach driving thing, and there's now a movement to claw back the tax giveaways where the politicians are actually giving tax dollars and giving them to billion-dollar corporations.
I see a lot more activism, throughout the city and the county. 5 years ago, there was no activism. It was just basically Home of Daytona Beach, and now we have a whole bunch of formerly homeless advocates, and we have the occupiers, have come to town, and they do a lot of, advocate work. So, yeah, there's a lot more advocate work going on.
Well, this is a struggle. Frederick Douglass said back in the 1800s that there's no results without a struggle. So
we had a good dinner last night with the ACLU.
That's right. So since we last were on the program, we had the situation at City Hall. We'll get into more of that in just a moment. But Brad brought up the ACLU, and Brad invited me to come to the ACLU meeting with the idea that we could, I could possibly join and get involved in some of the activities of the ACLU. And sure enough, I went there last night and was invited to say a few words. And whenever I'm asked to say a few words, I always
But
say.
you were invited by me with the intention of you saying a few words.
Yes, that's
correct. It wasn't like you just
Well,
showed up and they said, "Mike, say a few words."
All right. Well, what happened was the ACLU is a fine organization, and they did welcome me, and we talked about homeless for a little bit. And sure enough, there was a motion on the floor and a second and a unanimous vote to start a committee to investigate the criminalization of the homeless. What can be done from a legal standpoint, and what can be done that was compatible with the mission of the ACLU. And we're all simpatico with, and we're all on the same page, with that, with doing things to advocate for the homeless, and if need be, to investigate the possibility of some legal action.
Do you know the name of the committee you're on?
No, why don't you tell me?
The People Experiencing Homelessness Justice Committee.
Justice.
That's what you're on.
Justice
It
Committee.
has nothing to do with shelter. It's all about looking into the criminalization of homelessness.
Liberty and justice for all.
That's right.
You know, and all means all. You know that? All definitely does. You know, when the Constitution Declaration of Independence were written, when they said all, they didn't mean just wealthy white plantation owners. They meant all. All right. So sometimes I get, you know, more upset about the politicians disenfranchising, you know, homeless people because they feel like they're not full residents or citizens.
The term homeless people makes them sound like they are a separate subculture of species.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. You know, we have. What do you got?
Do you agree? Do you agree? You can take your mic back. I don't know if she's using it.
She said hello.
She said hello.
Yeah. Well, we're doing it like a Howard Stern thing over here, where Michelle's doing the camera. So I don't know if we're not gonna have any of the typical Howard Stern or Don Imus type,
we're not going
guess.
to be using any of that language or
No,
any
not
of
at
that
all.
subject content. We're not going to be having
Not
any of
at
that.
all. This is definitely safe for work and it's family friendly. But, you know, the only thing that we do is we try to humanize the homeless. We had recently a very harsh, and I can't say enough strong language about a harsh article about the city parks being a magnet for the homeless, and how slanted it was towards the negative and playing up to the negative perceptions.
I couldn't really get a grasp on that article. You know, I read it, and one minute I think it's being harsh, and then the next minute I'm thinking, okay, you know, because when she asked the people that were actually spending time at the park that weren't homeless if the homeless bothered them, they said no, the homeless don't bother us at all. And I thought that was fair of her to at least put that in the article.
Well, you know, that's my experience. I mean, you know, Michelle's there, 3 or 4 times a week. I'm there almost every day giving out cold water bottles and, you know, and talking to people, and people come up to me with their problems, and if I can help, I do help them. And if nothing else, I can sit down and pray with them.
But getting back to the article, what did you think was harsh about the article?
I was harsh about the article is that they said that it was detrimental to the image of Daytona Beach by having homeless on the fringes of society.
I agree, but I think she showed both sides of it. I mean, I think she was fair, and when she asked the other people if they were bothered by the homeless, and they said no.
Well, I'm certainly not bothered by the homeless. I consider them to be my family.
Actually, I think it was a pretty good article for your Shelter Can't Wait, because basically what she's saying is the homeless people have no place to go.
Oh, you're going to let me talk about it?
Well, you can talk for 5 minutes. That's it. The homeless people basically have no place to go during the day. That's what the article was saying, and so they congregate. You know, they gather in the park.
All right. Well, you know, this has been proposed. Now, you know what I say to the mayor and city commission. You know, if they were listening, here's what I would tell them. I would tell them, you know, the homeless were here before you got here, and they're definitely going to be here after you leave.
Like the American Indian.
Like the American Indian. So when I say we in the homeless advocacy that try to speak up for the homeless, if they had a leader or leaders, it would definitely be Brad and I, because we have experienced homelessness. Myself voluntarily for a year, Brad for how long, Brad?
7 years.
7 years, and that you just can't. And even people that that are in the business of helping the homeless. Big John says that if you get a salary, you're not giving back. You know, a lot of people say, I want to be involved in social services because I want to give back. Well, I'm sorry, if you're getting a salary, it's a job. And Brad and I have issues with some of the people, not all, but some of the people that are involved in it that seem to be, in it for the money, and some organizations in it for the money. And
I've grown a lot more fonder over the years, now that I've tried to start my own nonprofit organization, I'm a little more understanding of, some of the organizations and how difficult it is to raise money.
It is really hard. We all compete for donations. We compete for volunteers. We compete for attention. We compete, so on. And a lot has happened recently to bring these disparate forces to the table, if you will. I know that the Faith Organization and Halifax Urban Ministries and even Salvation Army, when with their involvement with the Continuum of Care, there's more, I guess, more of a thrust to work together.
The biggest thing that happened in homelessness, and in the last 5 years, was Judge Bell Schuman and the Faith Organization.
Oh, absolutely. For those that are not familiar with what happened with Judge Bell Schuman, is she a county judge or a circuit court judge?
She's a circuit court judge.
Circuit court judge. Judge Bell Schuman started seeing all of these same faces being, her courtroom being a revolving door, and she actually crunched the numbers and said, this is costing $12 million a year. And $12 million a year for an issue that I think is an easy solution. I mean, stop criminalizing the homeless. I mean, this is a social need, and something needs to be done about it. So the money's already being spent.
What she did, along with Faith, is that she brought a lot of focus on the issue. When the sleeping ordinance was overturned, and then Volusia Safe Harbor, came around, and that was her initiative. She brought it to Faith. She just brought a whole bunch of attention to the issue. I mean, 5 years ago, nobody was talking about sheltering the homeless. Nobody was talking about doing anything for the homeless. And then all of a sudden, this wave of interest came in because of Judge Schuman, because of Faith, and now we have homeless advocates everywhere. We have 3 different plans to house the homeless. I mean, it's really taken off. It's a boom.
And there are many solutions being proposed. Mine is called Shelter Can't Wait. It's a short-term solution that will sunset at the end of 12 months because I feel that the timeline is long. Brad and I have vehement disagreement. We're not going to talk about the timeline. Okay, of when Volusia Safe Harbor will open, when it opens. But
I was actually referring to your clever paper, the cleverly titled blue paper.
The blue paper. Okay, because there was a white paper, so I said, okay, well, mine will be the blue paper.
Very clever.
Well, anyway, it's a 14-page document that basically says, this is a human disaster, and let's put up a disaster relief tent, okay, which is a tensioned fabric structure that'll withstand 90-mile-an-hour winds. Okay, it's insulated and has lights and so on, and let's put 100 cots in there, or 50 bunk beds, and get people off the street. So I think this is a simple, it's not elegant, it's basic and Spartan, and it doesn't cost a lot. It costs a lot less than our favorite consultant. All right, so I think I'm asking the city leaders, the elected leaders, and the people say, why not? Why can't we do this? All right, and I haven't got a satisfactory answer yet. My plan was presented, and the silence was deafening. So here we go.
When I first started advocating, I went to the Salvation Army, and I said a lot of why not? Why not? Why can't you open up your gymnasium?
Open the gymnasium.
And let 100 people in there and sleep at night. Why not,
Yeah.
Why can't you open up the Bridge of Hope at night like you do during cold night shelters and let people come in and sleep?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't some of these churches open their doors when it's not below 40 degrees?
Well,
why not?
When in my initial conversations with Dr. Marbut, we discussed the charity model versus the law enforcement model. All right, so what we kind of have now moving forward is kind of a hybrid. We're going to have security, according to the plan. We're going to have a 501c3 nonprofit organization, run the shelter, which is spearheaded by Halifax Urban Ministries, and they're the logical organization to step up and run it. All right. So what Dr. Marbut said, that there was pluses and minuses to each to each model. But here in Volusia County, we don't have the critical mass of charitable organizations that can take on a $1.6 million a year budget to operate a shelter. So it requires, because there isn't the critical mass of charitable organizations like Catholic Charities and other places, United Way and so on. There isn't the Salvation Army, to name another one, which is also a faith-based organization. They are primarily a church, and every major that you go to any city in the United States, and they will tell you that Salvation Army is a church. And what Dr. Marbert said in the faith-based situation was we can't raise the money, so we need government. We need government to be involved to raise the money.
We have a call?
Okay. All right, let's take a call. Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, Michael, this is Henry Frederick calling.
Hi, Henry. I appreciate you listening and calling in. What's up?
I just wanted to let you know Judge Schumann is in fact a county judge.
Oh, she is? I thought you...
Yeah.
Okay. My bad.
But it's just a clarification. I was reading Lead the Longest story in the Daytona Beach News Journal while you were talking. And I remember there was one line in the story that really got to me, where there was a quote attributed to Leisure Services Director Percy Williamson, who said,
unfortunately, homelessness is not a crime.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, that got to me,
homelessness
too.
is not a crime.
Yeah.
Right. That part bothered me where he says, unfortunately, it's not a crime, meaning in his world it should be.
Yeah, I got that, too. I picked up on that right away.
And does it really matter how many toiletries are used in the bathrooms?
Yeah, I don't think they replace the toiletries 3 times a day anyway. I think he's fibbing on that a little.
Well, a long time ago, Henry, my father told me, Michael, you got to pick your battles. So seriously, they're going to complain about toilet paper. Is this all they have to do?
Well, I think the reason why I brought this up is you were talking about balance or imbalance in the tone of the story.
Yeah.
And my sense of the News Journal, of course, to make it clear to your listeners out there, I was a reporter for the News Journal for a better part of a decade.
Absolutely.
And I covered police and courts in Daytona. I doubt there are any reporters that have walked the concrete streets more than I did during that time and since. So I have a good handle on the homeless situation. And, the other side of Daytona that the insiders and the politicians don't like to talk about. The streetwalkers, the prostitutes, people that are down on their luck. And the problem with Daytona is you have so much focus on Daytona International Speedway that the money that could be going to help with social services is just in a vacuum. And even someone like Jim Deneen, the county manager, several times he's been quoted as saying something to the effect of, well, we'll provide the funding, but then we're out of it. I don't know how you have a solution long term if you don't have partners in there long term. You can't expect let me just finish by saying,
ahead, Henry.
You can't expect the municipalities to join in long term when the county itself is saying, here, we'll throw in a couple $1 million and then we're out of it. It's almost like, here's some money, now leave us alone. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, actually, Jim Deneen actually said once that the county does enough, and I don't think he even favors Volusia Safe Harbor at all.
Well, Henry, go ahead and tell the listeners your website. Henry Frederick is a great voice for people. The people that don't like the status quo and would like to challenge the powers that be. So go ahead, Henry, and tell them your website, and then I'll address some of the points you made.
Well, my website is headlinesurfer.com. Headline Surfer is a alternative. It's what we call new media as opposed to news media. But I'm one of these old-fashioned reporters who graduated from college with the Royal typewriter and the old-fashioned shoe leather, except that I took my trade and applied it to online, because when you reach your early 50s like I have, it's kind of hard to stay in the business with the turmoil of print media and the evolving of, digital media. So what I try to do is report the news as honestly as I can. And a lot of people don't like my brand of journalism. I should say a lot of people, by that I mean the people that are in the know or the insiders, the people like Chief Michael Chitwood. I'm probably the only reporter he refuses to speak with on any level because, I won 2 journalism awards for his promotion of a supervisor to captain, who has been very abusive over the years to some of his own personnel, in particular female cops. His personnel record is replete with all kinds of complaints. But, the attitude in Daytona Beach is, unless you're one of the in crowd, you're just ostracized. And I myself have felt that, being on the outside looking in terms of a published product. I average about between 20 and 25,000 visitors a day, but I'm locked out of the advertising and the revenue that could be coming my way for helping to get the news out, specific to Volusia County. But the News Journal, for example, has to do what Lita Long is doing because they have to pander to the insiders. The News Journal receives upwards of $2 million a year and taxpayer-supported advertising revenue. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to produce the paper the way they do. So, that's where you're getting that marketing and that bent from, especially the editorial stances they take under Pat Rice. It's basically the homeless are invisible to them, except for things like, taking up toilet paper or being a visible force when, somebody's having a party at a park or, God forbid we should have homeless people around us, Then again, you have people like Derek Henry, who I endorsed for office in the last election cycle, in 2012 election cycle, endorsed him for mayor, even though the Speedway supported his opponent. He had this vision, this mantra of one city, one vision. And of course, he has since uncredited me on Facebook, and he's become, one of the people that just is pandering, with the one-liner quotes about how great the Speedway is and how it's good for Volusia County and this and that. And of course, we all saw with the races, with the Coke Zero 400 this Monday morning. Of course, I was there. I'm banned from the Speedway's media center because I had the audacity to report on the fact that the Speedway and its proxies gave away $250,000 in campaign contributions for $250 million in taxpayer subsidies. Of course, they haven't got the $90 million in stadium funding yet. But if you're wondering who's the driving force and not allowing the homeless products to go forward, it's clearly the insiders because they have their own agenda, and just doesn't fit in.
Okay, Henry.
Anyway, that's who I am. I'll hang up and let you carry on.
Okay, yeah, I want to address a couple of the
Thanks
points.
for calling in, Henry.
Thank you, Henry. All right, so Henry Frederick, he's an investigative reporter and has a website, and he steps on a lot of toes, because the people just don't want to hear it. And frankly, I step on a lot of toes. I joined Henry with being, I'm being banned from CompStat, the police chief's bi-monthly crime statistics forum, and he doesn't want me there because for a number of reasons. But anyway, I think someone once said you're known by the enemies you make more than the friends you make. So
Well, he has one good reason, and that's about it.
okay, well, you know what? I don't want to get in a spat with
No,
the
we're
chief.
not gonna get into that.
We do honor and value a police chief who goes after the criminals aggressively and is on the job, 24/7. So, we may differ on the treatment of the homeless and the focus on some of the policing in town, but overall, we're lucky to have a guy like Mike Chitwood.
And getting back to her story, I'm just saying I thought it was nice of her and interesting that she interviewed those people who were at the park and she put in the story that those people said that the homeless didn't bother them at all.
Well, they really don't.
Right.
Okay, I think Rob Lavetti was at the park, and he said, well, what's the big deal? We don't bother anybody.
Rob Lavetti's like the most laid back guy I know.
I know. I mean, he's really. They interviewed Rob, and his daughter saw the picture, up in the Northeast, and contacted Daytona Homeless. I put the two together, and it was just magical how a guy who thought his baby girl was lost forever reconnected him. It's a real heartwarming story.
What did she want to do? Reconnect with him? Like go see him?
Yeah, what we're trying to raise funds for is for a reunion. So we're trying to get her a plane ticket, and maybe we'll approach one of the hotels to comp us a hotel stay for 3 or 4 nights, and I'm sure I can get that part done. Maybe we can get a plane ticket. We'll see.
He doesn't want to go see her?
Well, it's probably easier for her to come down as a vacation down here and stay in a hotel, and then they could do all that. I don't know what her living situation is up in New York, but we'll keep you apprised of that on the Facebook page.
Troy Ray at Halifax Urban Ministries does a lot of that work too. Maybe you should contact him.
Well, we'll see. First, we got to get her a plane ticket. So it's a GoFundMe page. If you go to Daytona Homeless Facebook page, you'll see the GoFundMe appeal for Rob Lavetti. It's called a father and daughter reunion, and if you want to kick in a few bucks, that would be a great thing.
Rob Lavetti, he hangs out with Monty Smallwood, right?
Monty Smallwood.
He's a veteran.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Monty Smallwood's a veteran, and he's sitting on the streets. He's a veteran that gets a check.
Well, there are a number of people.
This is the lead into your favorite person, Mike Cornell, who helps veterans.
No, he's not my favorite person. He won't come on the radio.
I know, but he helps homeless veterans.
Now, in fairness to Mike Cornell, he does what his superiors tell him. Okay, so unless we can break through the wall of silence with the Salvation Army.
My point is, maybe we could put Monty Smallwood in touch with Mike Cornell.
Okay. All right, yeah, that would be fine.
That would be my
All right,
point.
getting back to a couple of things that Henry Frederick brought up about how the insiders now have taken over, Volusia County and Daytona City government. They say that that when you get into politics, somebody said once that the politicians should wear like race car drivers' jackets with the patches of their sponsors, and I said that at a city commission meeting, and a number of the commissioners took umbrage at that and said, we're not selling our vote, and we're not influenced by campaign contributions, and so on, and that's the typical response. But the proof is in how they vote. It really is. Okay, so if you want to see how much influence that the insiders and the wealthy people in Volusia County have, you just follow the money.
Well,
I mean, when Jim Deneen is giving away the beach and giving away all of these tax giveaways to multi-million-dollar corporations as incentives for them to come here, and with the idea that they wouldn't come here unless we paid them to come here, I just take issue with that.
And it brings jobs, though, Mike.
Huh?
It brings jobs.
Of course it brings jobs, but they bring, there's people that they come here and open up and they don't ask for any government money, and they bring jobs as well. So.
Right. But I hope that a lot of the heavy hitters in Volusia County, and I'm not a name dropper, so I'm not going to name any of them, that they support Volusia Safe Harbor, so they're not really roadblocking a shelter for the homeless.
No, no. I guess Brad and I may differ on this. I accept the reality that the city manager brought Dr. Marbot in, and Dr. Marbot held his finger up in the air and tested the political winds and knew that which way the winds were blowing, and all of the business community and the influential insiders want the homeless swept out of downtown and out to a site adjacent to
But
Stewart
let me get
Marshall.
back to my point before you jumped in. My
Oh.
point was the heavy hitters on the floor of Volusia Safe Harbor.
As long as it meets their narrow scenario.
Let me get my point in before
Go
you
ahead.
jump in.
Go ahead.
They don't want a homeless shelter in Daytona Beach. They're roadblocking a homeless shelter in Daytona Beach because they want one out of the city limits.
Right.
That was my point.
Okay, and you know how I feel about that. I'm not going to be a lightning rod for that argument that even the mayor said it would be disingenuous if I were not to admit that that we don't want the homeless out of the city. He said that in a national article by the Huffington Post.
And he said it to us personally. And he
said it to us personally.
And he said it to us in a more broader sense. He said that the community, the general community, do not want the homeless in the community.
And you know what? That's a good segue into my public awareness campaign.
Right.
Shelter can't wait. We're going to be.
I'm just feeding you the softballs all day today.
Thank you, Brad.
Welcome.
All right, on the 15th, July the 15th, from 4 to 6, we're going to have a street demonstration in front of City Hall. It's not an illegal assembly because we're going to be in motion on a public sidewalk. All right, so then we're going to have the usual suspects will be in the City Commission chambers holding signs. Now, let me tell you something that's a little interesting. All right, now we've been doing this for 2 City Commission meetings in a row, and we had a story that was done. But guess where it showed up? It didn't show up on Sunday above the fold on the highest circulation day. Guess where it showed up? It showed up on the back of the local section on page 6C. All right, then when we doubled down and had 30 or 40 people in the City Commission chambers, the News Journal reporter, when I asked, well, isn't this newsworthy? Why there's 40 people in here holding signs, and you don't feel like you should write a story? And she said, well, I was already committed to do a story on the budget. So
You're an interesting guy, but they can't write a story on you every week, can they?
Huh? No, it's not about me. It's about 40 people in the City Commission chambers holding signs and demanding an answer to the question, where can the homeless sleep?
Yeah, but I mean, they did a story on that the week before. So you can't expect them to do a story on that 2 weeks in a row.
Well,
Anyway, the mayor challenged you to show him that community will.
I believe we're doing that.
Why not? You're doing the best you can.
You know how I can tell? He's acting more annoyed. That's how I can tell.
Yeah.
Well, seriously, he would, Christina Jensen with Fox 13 stuck a microphone in his face, and he didn't want to go on camera. So he's annoyed, and a number of the commission are annoyed, including Commissioner Henry, who said, well, I'm upset that you're saying that we don't do anything for the homeless. We're doing something for the homeless.
Well, that's what they're going to keep on saying. That's what they're going to keep on saying, Mike.
Well, we're going to keep on protesting.
Well, it's going to take more than 40 people. So, I mean, I wish you have 4,000 people at your next
Well,
round.
you know what? Don't despise small beginnings, my friend.
I don't. I'm rooting you on. I hope you get 4,000 people. I'm promoting your
Initiative.
initiative.
The initiative is called Shelter Can't Wait. You can read about it on DaytonaHomeless.com. It's basically a short-term solution that will vacate after 12 months, and the Volusia Safe Harbor initiative is going to take as long as it takes.
And you can read about that at homeatDaytonaBeach.org.
Okay, I hope this makes for good radio for the listeners out there. Again, this is a call-in program, 523-1380. 523-1380. Please call in.
Doug, take the microphone back. You got anything to weigh in on this subject?
I am a man of few words. I'm sorry about that. But ask me a specific question, I'll be glad to answer.
Well, where do you live? Do you live in the Daytona Beach area?
Ormond, Daytona.
Would you be offended if there was a homeless shelter in your city limits?
No.
Mike got a phone call.
No, that's not for the show.
No, it wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't even register, actually.
Yeah.
Well, the business community, the Downtown Merchants Association, the Chamber of Commerce, all of the people that are impacted negatively by homeless people in the downtown area are solidly against any solution that increases the visibility and expands the homelessness services in the downtown area, and that includes what they call the CRA, the redevelopment area, and a number of years ago, they had a big problem with, from a political standpoint, is they said we have to get these services that they thought were a magnet, for the homeless. We got to get them out of Daytona Beach. And what happened is that they couldn't accomplish what they wanted to accomplish, so they did the next best thing. They did a moratorium on social services within the CRA.
But that's because Daytona Beach claimed that they had all the services on this side of Volusia County. That there were very few services spread out throughout the county.
Well, do you think that we're that now this is some of the arguments they say we're going to have, if we build Volusia Safe Harbor, they're going to be a magnet for all of Volusia County, and people are going to come from miles around to take advantage of all these wonderful services. Do you think that that's a valid argument?
I think that people will come from Volusia County. I don't think people are going to come down from Miami. I don't think people are going to come down from Orlando. I think they'll come throughout the county.
Well,
I do, and I think the most of them will come from DeLand and Daytona Beach.
All right, let's take another call. Hello, you're on the air.
Yes, this is Pastor Varga calling. I know
Pastor
both
Varga.
of you. Hi, listen, I just had a question. I saw some of the, I saw a clip of one of the clergymen, Derek Harris, he had called me in regards to the family issue, the marriage issue thing. The Black Alliance had a meeting and things, and I looked him up, and he had a little clip at the I guess it's a YouTube clip. It was in regards to the commission meeting where all those signs, or I saw the signs and things. I just have a question. I could ask you guys personally, I know off the air, but I thought if I did it on the air, it might help others too that are listening. And my question is this: the particular there's a couple different things going around now. The one that you're going for before the commission with all the signs and that, was that the one where the homeless are going to stay like in empty motels and stuff? Is that the one?
Well, one of the initiatives moving forward is for affordable housing. Okay, what you're referring to, Pastor Varga, is the Salvation Army white paper, where that was mentioned in the white paper and was soundly renounced by almost everybody, denounced by the News Journal.
Okay, so that's not what you're talking about.
No.
Okay, so
Okay,
what are you talking about?
Well, what we're talking about, okay, it's a two-pronged issue, Pastor. Number one is that there is no safe and legal place for people to sleep in the city limits of Daytona Beach at night. The homeless, we have a shrinking habitat where they have to sleep on public property or at a bus stop or somewhere. But what really is the most humane solution is to have a safe zone, to have a place where they can legally sleep, a part of a park or an area, industrial area, or somewhere where they could designate.
Oh, like they have in Miami and that, where they give them some spot on their bridge or something. I mean,
That's right.
Cities that done
Yep,
that.
that was part of. That
Would
was
you be in favor of that, Pastor Varga?
Would you be in favor of a safe zone, Pastor Varga?
Well, the problem you have, and I like Marvin's. I like his suggestion. I've been talking with him quite regularly in this process and things, and I think that's going pretty well. Hopefully it'll be sooner, better than later, and things are coming together. There's some answers that have come from the county, and to be very honest with you, I'm quite for that program, the Safe Harbor program,
I'm so
and
glad you are.
hopefully it'll come sooner. Now to try to preempt that, I don't know if it I don't know if that's going to work or not, because the problem you have when you what are your thoughts security wise? That's my big question.
I think they're going to have a little bit of private security.
Well, no, what he's asking, Brad, is that if we had a temporary solution, would it be secure? I think it'd be just as secure as the police, the police patrolling Beach Street. so I'm, just you have another. Okay, so Beach. So all I'm asking for, Pastor Varga, is that the initiative Volusia Safe Harbor, which you've been in favor of since the beginning, I know that we can reliably depend on your support for that.
He wasn't in favor of it in the beginning.
I wasn't for it from the beginning.
Oh.
I listened and I met with. I mean, I wasn't for it or against it. Just put it that way.
Okay.
I sat down with Dr. Marbut and I talked with him and listened to his experience and my experience of 40 years with homeless and where he has been and what he's done. He made sense to me, and I believe he's a true expert in the field. And he's got a lot of juggling to do to try to keep everybody happy and get it together. But he's impressive, and I think he's done a good job, because I've looked into it, quite thoroughly. And there's a lot to this. It sounds it'll tug at your heartstrings to say, well, let's do something temporary. But there's a lot more to that than getting a lot or a park or something for homeless people to stay in. It involves there's a whole lot more to it than that.
But
and
Pastor Varga,
that's where the problem might be.
We have another caller, but I just want to say that nobody cares about the homeless more than you. You feed the homeless.
Yeah,
you
well,
love
you know
the
that,
homeless.
Brad. I know you well. And my heart's desire has been for homeless for 40 years, and
Yes,
I came here in 1992 specifically to help the homeless, and there hasn't been much done for the homeless for a long time. 92 is a long time ago, but there is a lot of things going on right now which are good.
And nobody cares more than you do. But I wanted to ask you, why don't you join us on the 24th of July at the next Volusia Safe Harbor planning meeting at City Hall, and set in and see where the planning's at.
Oh, is this?
Yeah, it's open to the public.
It's open
sir.
to the public, July 24th.
July 24th. If you,
Okay.
it's a
Yeah,
Friday.
I'll probably be there because I talk often with Robert Marbut, and he's a friend of mine, and
Yes, sir.
yeah, it wouldn't be a bad thing to be there. I certainly wouldn't have any problem with that at all.
Okay, July 24th, 9 a.m. at City Hall.
And another great thing about that meeting is Dr. Marbut, it's a free-for-all. Everyone's allowed to talk. Everyone's allowed to throw in their ideas. It really is a community project.
Okay, and
What day is the 24th?
it's a
Brad?
It's a Friday.
Oh, Friday's okay for me. That's
Yeah, you're not
good day
feeding.
for me.
You're not feeding.
Yeah, I don't have services that day. So
Yes,
good.
sir.
Well, great. Well, listen, hey, I really appreciate you guys, and I really know that you're sincere in what you're trying to accomplish, and I'm just been praying a long time that Safe Harbor would come together quickly, and I think there might be some possibilities of that of it coming. It depends upon the response from the cities now.
Yeah, we all
There are a
have
lot
to.
of cities involved in this. They have to get involved, and of course, the county is really getting in pretty well. So that's a good thing.
Okay. I love you, Pastor Varga, and
Okay, we got another caller, Pastor Varga. Thank you for calling in and for your support. Okay, you're on the air.
Hi, this is Dale calling. Wanted to speak with Brad. Brad, you had mentioned that you inquired with the Salvation Army as to why they could increase their bedding for the shelter there. What was the response to opening their dining area or their church area?
no response. Basically, they just shrugged their shoulders and said they couldn't do it. The city wouldn't allow it. Basically.
Well, we don't know how accurate that is. Okay, if the city wouldn't allow it, but I don't know if I've heard, but I haven't seen anything in writing that they cannot go beyond the 20 bed maximum.
Well, I don't think they want to.
No.
Finish your
Well,
question, Bill.
they're more open for drug rehab as it's given by the court. They're under contract with them to provide the drug court people or whatever it is.
Halfway house, jail diversion, streets team, and all that. Everything that they get paid for, they're in favor.
They actually used to have they used to have about 70 beds for the homeless, overnight beds, and they cut them all down. Now they have like 10 that you got to pay
Well,
for.
that's because they got money to do it another way,
You're
probably more
absolutely
money
right. You're
by
absolutely
working
right.
with a court system. But I wanted to ask you again, I've never seen a Salvation Army that did not serve an evening meal.
But this
Why
one,
do they not do that
this
there?
one, what they do to the overnight guests, the 10 overnight lucky people and the people that are staying there, they get an overnight meal. But yeah, there's not one that's open to the public. You'd have to talk to the captain, Captain Stan.
How come you guys don't?
Because he doesn't return
He doesn't
our
return our
emails
emails.
or phone calls.
He's like trying to get a hold of Howard Hughes.
It just seems really strange that they're funded to do all these services, and then for whatever reason they elect not to. I didn't realize that they could be so versatile in what they do for an area, because it's kind of like if they're providing it and they're not, they're neglecting to do something, maybe even discriminating against people for not providing the services. It's just that I've had to go to Salvation Armies in a couple of different locations in the state, and I've never seen one that did so little.
Yeah, it's amazing. Every time that there's a meeting of the COC at the LPGA location, I walk in. I say, "Boy, we could put a lot of beds in here," and they just don't have the will.
Remember the days? I don't know if you were around, Dale, when the Salvation Army used to give you 13 free nights.
Well, I know that it's only kind of a new thing that they've begun charging people but for $10 a night. I think $10 a night is pretty substantial money for what they offer there. But I also have another question for you two gentlemen. I'm totally against how you guys are advocating for the notice to appear on some of the tickets, because I see some of the faces that are getting consistently rearrested with that swinging door type thing, and I know for a fact that probably 70% of these people are mentally incompetent. I mean, absolutely on the street, because they're so mentally incompetent, they couldn't take care of themselves or have normal responses to everyday life. So I don't really know what laws are. I'm not a lawyer, but I know that you're not supposed to arrest people who are not competent to be arrested.
Well, that's the whole point, just to giving them the save docket ticket is not taking them to jail and getting them in the system.
But that's not happening.
Yeah, but I think it's ridiculous that even
not
those people and anyone else would be asked to buy their way out of their circumstance by providing 20 hours of community service prior even to their sentencing.
But maybe, the idea is maybe when they go before a judge can help them get into a program, for mental illness.
I agree with you, Dale. That's not happening.
They're not
It's
doing
not
it.
really. It's not really that it's limited to mental illness, because I was ticketed and my offer was to the guy really the public defender tried to tell me, well, if you'll communicate 20 hours before you come back next time, maybe we can work this out. And I said, well, I bet you could. I said, but I'm not going to give you 20 hours of my time. It's not just the 20 hours to do community service. It's the transportation to get there, and what I'm not going to be able to do for myself, because you want 20 undocumented hours of my service. But my question is, who's really benefiting from those 20 hours? Because you see, I see it as our systems over here in Volusia just very simply ask for too much volunteer work. I mean, if you're running 200 people a day through your court system and you're gaining, 4,000 hours in community service,
Well,
that's a lot of manpower to be doing whatever needs to be done.
And
I think
I
those
agree
are
that
eliminating
that's...
our jobs here. And if you ask someone to give you 20 hours of community service, I think you should be putting shelter over their heads.
Dale, I think the Save Docket program is a good program when run properly. The problem is it's not being run at all. So
And it won't be.
You don't
It'll
have a
be
chance.
probably just another extension of pretrial release.
You don't have a chance to let it work, Dale, because the cops aren't participating, and it's just not, it's not working.
Well, that's we could do a whole show on, on that issue. Thanks for calling in, Dale. We're kind of short on time, so we're going to wrap it up.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening, and have a great evening.
Maybe we,
Okay,
should
you
have,
too.
maybe we should have Dale in the studio to talk.
Yeah, maybe so. You know what? I was thinking that we should have asked Pastor Varga to be on our show.
I would love to have Pastor
Okay,
Varga on
yeah,
the show.
we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right. Well, this has been we had a number of callers, and we're trying to advance the conversation forward about what to do about. We feel that this is the last group in the United States that is it's okay to discriminate against, and you know what the homeless have no they have no political power. They have nothing to offer. There's no one that can take advantage of the homeless because they have nothing.
Well, the homeless also have to start standing up for themselves.
And that's what we're trying to do.
When they get these tickets, they have to say, I'm not gonna take this. I'm gonna fight this ticket.
Well, that's
I shouldn't get a trespassing ticket during the day. It's City Island Park when it's opened up.
You know how Mothers Against Drunk Drivers have an advocate in the courtroom? Okay, I think that's a good thing to talk to ACLU about. Okay,
Yeah.
is that there's a Supreme Court case. I'll talk about it on another program. It's called NAAC versus Button, where someone from an advocacy group who is a non-lawyer can go into a courtroom and speak on someone's behalf. So I'll talk about that another time. I'm doing some research on that. We could use some court monitors to help the homeless.
I think one thing I want to say, it was really nice to hear from Pastor Varga. I'm glad he listens to our show. He has done a lot of work for the homeless, and he's virtually gone unrecognized. People don't realize that he feeds 3 times a day. He helps homeless people out whenever he has a chance. 3 times a week, I'm sorry.
His services 3 times a week. It's the Daytona Rescue Mission, Ridgewood Avenue Baptist Church on Ridgewood in Holly Hill. One of our favorite preachers. If you want a fundamentalist Baptist service, then Pastor Varga's service is a place to go.
Let me finish my tribute to Varga. I only got like 2 minutes, and you jump in. He's an unsung hero of the homeless. He's been doing it for a long time. And I think a lot of people should check out his service and just go meet the man. I mean, he's got set his ways, and some of his things, we don't quite agree on, but he's a wonderful human being with a
Highly
big heart.
respected. Okay.
God bless, Pastor Varga.
It's been a great show. We thank you for tuning in, and tune in every Tuesday at 6 p.m. for Voices from Home, a voice for the voiceless. It's Brad Carter and Pastor Mike saying over and out.
VoicesFromHome.com.
WELE Ormond Beach, 1380, The Cat.